Whoopi Goldberg just got checked, and she didn't see it coming asterisk strap in, because the moment we've all been waiting for has finally arrived. After years of Whoopi Goldberg dominating The View, shutting down opposing voices, dismissing guests mid-sentence, and treating the table like her personal throne room, someone finally pushed back. And let's just say, Whoopi wasn't ready. It wasn't just a disagreement. It was an asterisk on-air demolition. Asterisk enter Karoline Leavitt. From the second she walked on set, the energy shifted. She wasn't there to play nice, and she didn't flinch when the eye rolls started or the interruptions came. She delivered her points clearly and fearlessly, and when Whoopi tried her usual smug tactics, Karoline shut it down. If you don't have anything to say, MHM, you blab. You just go on and on and on and on. That was Whoopi's response. Petty, dismissive, predictable, but Karoline didn't blink. She stood her ground, speaking with a kind of conviction and clarity that instantly cut through the show's usual noise. She didn't just challenge The View, she exposed it. These despicable women on The View, Karoline later said, are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help. It wasn't just a moment, it was a reckoning. For the first time in a long time, someone didn't back down on The View, and the fallout? Immediate. ABC executives are reportedly scrambling. Rumors of major shakeups are flying. And Whoopi's role on the show, once untouchable, is now under scrutiny. So what exactly did Karoline say that hit so hard? She started with the basics. There will be no wokeness here. That line alone set the table ablaze. Whoopi, clearly annoyed, tried to cut her off. But Karoline doubled down. Without that wokeness, you might not even have that job, she fired back, referring to Whoopi's repeated use of identity politics and the hypocrisy baked into Hollywood. She went on to call out what she described as the most divisive and vile speech any president in her lifetime had ever delivered, accusing Joe Biden of effectively declaring war on half the country. The tension hit a peak when Karoline said, "It's not radical to want to put your country first. It's not radical to want a secure border." And just like that, the ambush began. Whoopi rolled her eyes, visibly irritated. Joy Behar, never one to miss a snide jab, jumped in with her usual sarcasm. But Karoline was locked in, ripping through woke talking points, dissecting media bias, and refusing to be silenced. "I fought the corrupt mainstream media every day in President Trump's White House," she said. "They're indoctrinating an entire generation into hating their country and each other." Then came the low blows. "She's probably only here because Donald Trump thinks she's a 10, one of the hosts muttered. Instead of flinching, Karoline turned the tables. "So now women are reduced to their looks? You're saying a woman can't be smart and attractive?" Mic dropped. Let's be clear. Karoline's resume speaks for itself. She graduated from St. Anselm College, reported for WR in New Hampshire, launched a congressional run at just 25, and became the youngest White House press secretary in history at 27. She didn't hide behind a binder or fumble her words. She handled press briefings with confidence and clarity, pregnant, under pressure, and always composed. Compare that to Whoopi, whose recent contributions to the national conversation boil down to exaggerated facial expressions and outdated quips. Let's be honest, it's feeling less like commentary and more like envy. Even as the panel tried to discredit her, Karoline held the room. Joy stammered, struggling to make a coherent counterpoint. Whoopi leaned into sarcasm. But Karoline kept delivering facts, quotes, dates, policy references, all in a calm, deliberate tone. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't derail the conversation. She stayed focused, composed, and sharp. She called out the very thing that has driven many viewers away from The View, the echo chamber. "This isn't a range of perspectives," she said. "It's one voice amplified 5 different ways. Disagreement isn't debated, it's silenced." Karoline's performance struck a nerve because it said what millions have been thinking, that The View does reflect the real world. It reflects the insulated opinions of select few, out of touch with everyday Americans. And she didn't need theatrics to make her point. When Joy tried to talk over her, Karoline didn't take the bait. She paused, waited, and when it was her turn again, she continued, unshaken. She didn't scramble. She didn't lash out. She stayed on track. By the end of the segment, it wasn't Karoline who looked out of her depth. It was the co-hosts, flustered, frustrated, and visibly thrown off. She didn't just survive the ambush. She walked through it, calm and unbothered. As of now, the internet is buzzing. Clips of the segment are going viral. Comment sections are flooded with praise. Viewers are calling it one of the most honest moments The View has ever accidentally aired. Karoline didn't come to play the game. She came to flip the board, and she did. Now, ABC's scrambling, the panels rattled, and Whoopi, once the unquestioned queen of the round table, might finally be facing the curtain call. Because when the truth finally hits the stage, even the loudest voices have to quiet down. Karoline Leavitt didn't just show up to The View. She came armed with facts, clarity, and composure. And in doing so, she exposed just how shaky the show's usual tactics look when they're met with someone who's actually prepared. The fireworks began the moment she stepped on set. I'd like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for, one host challenged. I'm stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past, Karoline replied, unfazed. Cue panic. I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Karoline, thank you very much for your time. The producer's voice cut in, trying to salvage the segment. But the real shift came moments earlier. One line that didn't just land, it echoed. Karoline looked the panel dead in the eye and said, "You sit up here preaching about women's empowerment, but the second a conservative woman finds success, you chalk it up to her looks. That's your definition of empowerment?" The room froze. No snarky comebacks. No awkward laughs. Just stunned silence. Even Joy Behar, the self-declared queen of interruptions, sat back speechless. Her trademark smirks? Nowhere to be found. Karoline wasn't finished. She leaned in and hit even harder. She called out the modern definition of wokeness as nothing more than a convenient tool, one that gets used to shame, shut down, and silence voices like hers. And she didn't shy away from naming names. She pointed straight at Whoopi Goldberg. "No one embodies that silencing tactic more clearly than you," she said. Day after day on national television. It wasn't laced with venom. It was surgical, precise, an indictment wrapped in composure. Audible gasps followed. Viewers shifted in their seats. The smug superiority that typically defines a View flipped in real time to stunned disbelief. And outside the studio, the reaction was instant. Clips exploded across social media. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Every platform lit up. Debates ignited. Hashtag surge. Hashtag Whoopi exposed. Hashtag Karoline unleashed. Hashtag The View owned. Inside ABC, chaos. Reports suggest executives went into full-blown crisis mode. The segment didn't just trend. It changed the narrative. And for once, ABC wasn't in control of it. Then came the moment that confirmed just how deep this hit. Whoopi Goldberg didn't show up for the next episode, no warning. No explanation. ABC released a vague statement saying she was taking time to reflect on recent discussions. Sure she was, because everyone could see what was happening. The crown was slipping. And Karoline? She kept going. Back at the press podium. She stood in front of a skeptical media crowd and didn't flinch. "No fluff. No spin," she said. "We won't let misinformation slide, even when it's coming from you." Then came the jab that detonated across the internet. "I'm not even sure if Joe Biden's in the Oval Office or upstairs napping." Gasps. Tension. Laughter. Message received. She tied it all back to policy, too, not just theater. Egg prices have skyrocketed 65%, she reminded reporters, hammering home the administration's failures. Fallout came fast. Insider leaks claimed ABC's top brass were in meltdown mode. Sponsors were rattled. Phones were ringing. And longtime viewers, once loyal fans of the show's bold approach, were now voicing doubts. On social media, the tone changed. What once felt progressive, many said, now just feels petty. The show's credibility? Cracking. And the backlash? Outweighing the buzz. That's when ABC faced a brutal decision. Clean house and restore balance, or double down and risk irrelevance. The View has always thrived on controversy. But when that controversy starts bleeding ratings and scaring advertisers, it's not just noise anymore. It's a full-blown crisis. And Karoline Leavitt? She didn't just survive The View. She flipped the script. Calm, steady, and fully in control. She exposed what happens when real conviction walks into a room built on sound bites. So now we ask, was Karoline's takedown the most savage moment in The View's history? Has Whoopi finally worn out her welcome? Should ABC show her the door? And more importantly, are we witnessing the beginning of the end for The View? Sound off in the comments.